Hello everyone, Newman here bringing you yet another informational video. And this is the Brawlhalla Legend tier list, the one we've all been waiting for per season, right? And now that we've covered the weapons tier list, hopefully that saves some time explaining stuff on the Legend tier list. And with Summer Champs looming in next Sunday, which is 6 days from now, and I doubt we're going to have a surprising balance patch, so let's get this tier list running. We've divided the tiers into meta, which is most effective tactic available, and that pretty much means that any character being put in this tier means they're insanely overpowered and they need to get nerfed to make it fair for anyone else. Overtuned, these legends have some pretty they have very good aspects about them that could need some brushing up on, but they can get away with it because there's bigger problems at hand. And solid, these are just legends that are well balanced and don't really need any changes because there's just a bunch of other stuff that's overtuned or meta that needs changes rather than what's solid. And needs buffs is the bottom tier. Those are legends I believe are really underwhelming and require way too much skill and dedication and too much time in your life to master them and actually get them to work. And it would be a huge quality of life change to get them buffed. So let's get right to it. As per usual to the template, I will be putting one legend per tier to start the foundation so we can effectively rank them in relation to those choices. So let's get right to it. In the meta tier, we have no surprise, it's Taros. Taros got nerfed with his side sig on hammer being a little bit slower to start and hits a little bit less hard, but to be fair, that change is pretty minor. He still kills in orange with that sig, I'm sure. And that sig is not too slow anyways, even with the change. And he has axe, he has hammer, he has two of the debatably most hard-hitting weapons. Like, top 3 most damage-causing weapons is, like, axe, hammer, cannon. Top 3 damage dealers, and Taros is that, and he has high strength. He has above-average defense. He's low dex. He doesn't even need the dex. So, yeah. He's got everything going for him, and his sigs hit like a truck. Neutral sig on both weapons is like an auto cheese win button when you need it to. So, yeah. I see no arguments for why Taros shouldn't be meta right now. And the crazy thing is, it's not even about Hammer being in a good spot or Axe being in a good spot. Like, Taros will always be good just from his stats alone and his sigs alone. So, realistically, the only way to nerf Taros is just to further nerf his end sigs. Like, his end sigs are the biggest. What am I gonna say? I can't even think of the word. They're his biggest assets. I'll just say that. And also okay, we're not talking about meta anymore. We have to put one in every slot. I got trigger happy there. Overtuned. Tezca is overtuned. Where are you, Tezca? Oh, yeah, right here. Tezca is overtuned. He's got amazing stats. Just take away from Dex and you have 8 strength. You have 2 amazing weapons for building up damage. You've got the strength and sigs to finish off the stocks. And you literally have auto cheese and sig wins just like Taros on both of your weapons. So you're not going to be losing off stage anytime soon. So yeah. Why is Tezca not meta? It's just simply because both of his weapons don't complement each other in terms of matchup spread when you're fighting long-ranged weapons. Like, you have to close the distance effectively to do that. And that's something special when you're talking about legends. Like, it's not all about the obvious stuff. You have to take everything into consideration before you can label something as meta. And Taros' biggest weakness is that he loses to extreme frame data in weapons like boots and katars and sword. But like you can still play around that anyways by just baiting and punishing. So yeah, and you can bait and punish against long range weapons using Tezca. But when you're trying to challenge them, that's when it is an issue. And Teros, he still has the range necessary with his weapons to challenge quick weapons as well. So yeah. And don't forget, Tezca has amazing steerable ground pounds on both weapons. So yeah, it's always an uphill battle if you're off stage against a Tezca, that's for sure. On stage, not so much, but he's still a threat. Like, I'm pretty sure once Teros gets on the nerfing block and gets put on the chopping block for getting nerfed heavily, Tezca's gonna rise up, I'm sure. Talk about solid. Okay, call me crazy, but Volkov is surprisingly, paradoxically, a well balanced legend. Because you have Scythe and you have Axe, and those are both good weapons at catching landings. And his SIGs are great at catching landings too. But like he's just balanced because he's slow and he doesn't hit too hard. So that balances him out being able to catch landings well and like drag you off stage with those side SIGs. Volkov's side SIG on Scythe is the biggest offender for this. Like Volkov's side SIG alone on Scythe lets you shark a lot with his Scythe. And neutral SIG catches jumps, especially panickers. But like he's just slow. Like that's his biggest issue. Going to 5 speed is not a good thing because he'll be 3 strength, and 3 strength is not what you want to be. Like strength, defense, and speed, you never want to go below 4. And speed in particular, you may not even want to go below 5. And you're pretty much screwed because that's what balances Volkov out. You have to deal with bad strength or bad speed. There's no in between. Now, for the needs buffs. I'm sorry, but Thea needs buffs. Okay, call me crazy. Thea's SIGs are like light attacks, but they have the downside of being like light attacks. They don't deal enough damage and they don't hit hard enough. She's got the best speed in the game, but all of that is meaningless if you always lose out on trades against any other character. Like, if you're hitting back and forth, they hit you, you hit them, and that just happens over and over, you're literally gonna lose to everyone. Even Lin Fei, and that's saying something. So, honestly, all Thea's got going for her is frame data and speed. Apart from that, you're always on an uphill battle. And I would say the best way to buff Thea is literally add more force to her SIGs, but keep the damage the way they are. Like, yeah, the SIGs, it doesn't matter if you hit them early, because we're talking the variable force is what matters once they're red. So if you land the SIGs and like you're spamming the SIGs and you're hitting them over and over, it's not really a big deal until they're already in kill percent anyways. So then that way we can make Thea not as bad, but not broken. So just keep the damage the way it is for Thea SIGs, and just make the force better. That's literally all we need to fix her, I'm pretty sure. Because she's probably one of the most SIG-reliant characters in the game. Volkov probably doesn't need touching at all. He's in a good spot. Tezca might need some startup frames, some tuning on his neutral SIGs. Teros, same thing. Like, that's literally all you need to balance these guys, I think. Now, we can continue with the tier list like normal. Bodvar. Bodvar's just solid. He's better than Volkov because he's well-rounded, and his weapons are simple and they get the job done. I mean, Sword's seen better days, but it's definitely seen worse days. You can't go wrong with Bodvar. His stats are really flexible, too. You'll never have trouble killing, and you shouldn't have trouble building up damage if you know what to do with his weapons. And also, Sword down SIG is amazing, and Bodvar's hammer is ridiculously underrated. Cassidy. Cassidy is meta. And I just say this because Hammer's in a good spot right now. And she has not faced any nerfs at all. She's got buffed, actually. Her down sig lasso on Hammer got buffed. But having high dex really benefits Hammer. And it's not bad to have on blasters. And her sigs are just so amazing that I just have to say that she's meta. The only reason she's meta, not meta completely, and not everyone is hopping on the Cassidy bandwagon, is just simply because you have to put up with the bad speed and bad defense. Either or. Orion. I would say he should be overtuned, but considering how Lance is right now, he's just solid. Really good solid. Amazing stats for Spear. For Lance, not so much. You'd want more than strength or defense on Lance. Dex and speed don't matter too much on Lance, but amazing stats for Spear, though. Amazing signature kit. Sidelight, Ensig, unjumpable on Spear. Sidelight, Ensig on Lance, unjumpable for his Lance. Downlight, Ensig on his Spear, unjumpable. So yeah, he has a lot of good confirms, and his Sigs are fast. But if Lance was better, he'd definitely shoot up in the tier list. But as of right now, he's going to be right here. Lord Vrax. Lord Vrax is just solid. Wait, hold on. Vrax recently got buffed because his blasters got buffed and his side sig on Lance got buffed. So yeah, he's just solid right now. Like, he's right there with Volkov. He's got all the sigs working in his favor, and he's got 9 decks downlight into neutral light on Lance in his favor. But you have to put up with bad exchange stats. But it's still not as bad as Thea, so that's funny. But yeah, he'll be right here. No nerfs, no buffs needed for most of the legends in this tier list of solid. Nash. My good old dependable Nash. I hate to say this. I mean, I don't want to shoot myself in the foot. But I gotta say, Nash is kind of overtuned right now. Spear has literally been untouched for like the past year. And Hammer's in a good spot. And Nash's signatures have been untouched since a very long time, and they still kill pretty early. So, yeah, I'm fine with Nash being where he is. Like, he could be like a good benchmark. Like how I said in my weapons tier list, like Hammer's a good benchmark for the other weapons. Nash is a good benchmark for balancing legends because he's got the gimmicks and he's got the cheese, but they're not overwhelmingly crazy. He's got good stats too. But, yeah, not too much to expect from him, but you won't be disappointed. That's what Nash is all about. You can make anything work with Nash. It's just that he's kind of basic, kind of like Bodvar. But you have more flexible stats since you're not dex dependent as much, which means the spear might feel kind of wonky. But having the kill power with Nash is amazing when you need it, though. So yeah, Nash is pretty good. And also, neutral sig on both of his weapons cover amazing areas for their weapons. And Queen Nai is just solid. Along the same line as these gimmicky characters like Vrax and Volkov, Queen Nai's here. I mean, I wish Queen Nai would get a buff on her neutral sig just being a little tiny, just one minute change on the minimum charge time to be a little bit quicker, and boom. No more inconsistent downlight and sig whiffs. Because even though that's a true combo, downlight and sig on her spear, it's been known for some enemies to be able to jump out of it somehow. But still, her sig kit hits hard and crazy, and spear and katars together is pretty good. It's just, you always gotta deal with maximum of 4 speed because she's base 3 speed. And having low speed on Katars and Spears is really, really bad. But if you can work with that and you appreciate the SIGs, Queen Knight's solid. And unfortunately, we can't really balance stats because stats are pretty much ingrained in the character, so you can only really change either weapons or SIGs. And yeah, honestly, I wouldn't mind if Queen Knight got less recovery on whiff for her spear down SIG, which is actually crazy. But then again, yeah, I mean, a Mugi's less punishable, so you never know. Hattori. Hattori's just. Actually, Hattori needs buffs. She's better than Thea for sure, though. But Hattori needs buffs because Sword is not as good as it once was, and even though Spear is untouched, Hattori. Think of it like this: Hattori is so dependable and reliable that she's like a cracker in a box that you snack on and it never gets stale no matter how long you leave it. But, like, even though it never gets stale, it does lose its appeal after a while. And Hattori does have lost her appeal now. Because there's just other weapons like Boots that just perform like Sword but better. And same with Hammer too. And Hattori, she has amazing stats for Spear, but she's overloaded on speed when that could have been for strength, and that would have really helped in her weapons killing potential. So when you're in those, so kind of like Thea, you might have trouble trading with characters. And kind of like Thea, her SIGs don't hit hard enough. Like, that's the issue. Hattori SIGs do more damage than Thea SIGs, but they don't hit hard. They don't have enough force to them to kill early enough. And that's a really big pain because some of Hattori's SIGs are so slow and they still don't kill. Kind of like Spear down SIG, it's slow and it doesn't kill enough. Sword side SIG kind of slow, doesn't kill enough. Sword down SIG kind of kill, doesn't. Yeah, you get what I mean, right? But the neutral SIGs on both weapons amazing. Kills pretty early. Side SIG on Spear amazing. But like some of those changes to like the slower SIGs to make them have more force probably needs to be done for Hattori. Then she'll be way better. And I can't believe I didn't notice this before, but now I've noticed it. So, hope Hattori players will be eating good in the future, but as of right now, Hattori's kind of facing a drought. You don't see much of her anymore. Sir Roland. Sir Roland is solid. He's gotten the love with the Lance side sig buff, making it speedier in the snappier animations. So yeah, he's been getting some love in the balancing department. And Sword got semi-fixed with the recent patch. Lance, not in the best spot, but we need all the help we can get. And Roland's got sufficient help, so I think he's solid. And he's got balanced enough stats, so he's sitting comfortably, but slightly worse than Bolivar because not as flexible in stances. But having Sword and Lance together, Sword confirms, Lance for damage build, pretty solid. And also when you need to cheese, Roland Sword can cheese. And now Lance Sidesig can cheese too, so solid. Scarlet. My main girl, Scarlet. Scarlet is just... Yeah, Scarlet. You know what? Scarlet might be the best Lance legend right now. Am I tripping? Maybe. Maybe not. Scarlet is just... She's a weird one. Like, you're pretty much guaranteed to play speed stance in ones to get 5 speed. But having high strength and having high strength on her weapons with Lance and Hammer is just perfect. And the SIGs are perfect. Like, you remember what I said about Lance being redundant with its kit? Where it all covers the same spots. Neutral light in front, side light in front, down light stacked front. Well, with Scarlet's Lance SIGs, same thing, but they just hit really hard. And Lance neutral sig is amazing. It has the aerial coverage that it needs, but it still hits in the front. All of this, all of her Lance sigs hit in the front. Lance side sig and down sig both hit stacked, which is hilarious. So yeah, if you want to play Lance and you want to do it the easy way, play Scarlet. Her hammer's amazing too. Spam side sig off the edge, it covers the wall, especially Demon Island. And her sigs, although they don't hit as hard, which is annoying. I wish down sig still hit as hard, but we got to make it fair for the rest of the legends, so it has to be done. So, yeah, Scarlet's here because Hammer's in a good spot. If Lance was in a good spot too, she might be meta for the first time in a long time. So, yeah. And also, both N6 hit grounded. Thatch. Thatch is solid, which is surprising for a 3 defense legend, because he's got the force and strength to back it up. And both weapons are in a okay spot right now. Blaster's especially in a good spot. I'd say right here. Not much to say about Thatch. He's just the... Thatch and Nash are pretty similar, just with different weapons. That's pretty much it. They both hit just as hard as each other. Ada. Hate to say this, but Ada needs buffs. I mean, Ada did get buffed with her blasters, and we're heading in the right direction with that. But she still needs buffs in her blaster department. Her spear, amazing. No need to touch spear. No need to explain spear. Sidelight Ensig, unjumpable on spear. D-light Ensig, unjumpable on spear. The other spear sigs cover all the weaknesses of spear. But the blasters, though, having no anti-air signature really hurts blasters. And here's the kicker. It's somehow hard to land blaster's side sig compared to the past because of the snap dashing and the new backdash and all of this. So yeah, I would say giving a damage buff to her blaster sigs may not be a bad idea, just to keep her in line with other heavy hitters in the game like Thatch, Sentinel. Sentinel's overtuned just by virtue of having amazing stats. You can choose any stance you want, it works. And on top of that, you got Hammer and Katara's. They benefit from each other's presences really well. Katara builds up damage, Hammer finishes stocks. And you've got amazing offstage with both weapons. And on top of that, you've got free neutral signatures that hit easily. I mean, they don't kill too early, but they hit easily because they hit grounded, they hit aerial, they hit stacked. So yeah, that's amazing. I'm going to have to put him... Yeah, I'll put him right here. Sentinel is overtuned. But, like, overtuned characters... Actually, you know what? Tezuka's meta, because Tezuka is in a whole different league compared to the rest of the overtuned legends. Like, when you think of Nash, Sentinel, and Scarlet, you're like, yeah, they have some of their gimmicks, but they're nothing compared to these three, right? Teros, Cassidy, Tezuka. So yeah. Lucian. I'd say Lucian's solid. I mean, he's lacking strength, but his signatures are easy to land, and they somewhat kill earlier than Hattori Sigs, which are kind of ironic. So yeah. I'd say top is solid. He's just well balanced. Low strength, but balanced with everything else that's the opposite of low strength. Speed, all of that good stuff. And his Sigs, all hit grounded. Amazing spike with Katara down Sig. Neutral Sigs on both weapons hit grounded and are active for a good amount. Can't go wrong with Lucian. Only reason I won't say he's overtuned is because you're not really gonna kill early with him unless you accidentally land a good Qatar down sig. Bryn. I mean, Bryn is overtuned because axe neutral sig. That's all I need to say. Other than that, she's just solid. Any stance works. Weapons are pretty good. Can't go wrong. Maybe for a buff. That's the crazy thing about Bryn. There's some aspects of Bryn that needs buffs, and then there's some aspects of Bryn that needs nerfs. So she needs like a power shift. Shift away from axe neutral sig and put some of the power into spear neutral sig or spear side sig. Spear side sig's kind of too slow and telegraphed. Spear neutral sig on Bryn is actually jumpable off of downlight, so that's funny. Asuri. Asuri's just solid. I mean, she you used to see tons of Asuris in ranked, but not so much anymore. But she's solid. Is she overtuned? Yeah, she's just really well rounded in her stats. Nothing too sticks out. The SIGs are pretty good. Yeah, she's just very shy of being overtuned. Barraza. Barraza is simply solid because of low speed. But other than that, he's in a good spot. His weapons are really good right now. It's just his stats holding him back. And Axe Neutral Sig is still a good wild card. And Blaster's down Sig kills pretty early. He's got all the tools he needs. Ember still needs buffs, surprisingly. But she needs power shifts. Bow Ensig is kind of annoying. But at the same time, Bow Downsig and Bow Sidesig might need some tuning to be better. Maybe minimum charge time needs to be lowered on Downsig for Bow. And maybe Sidesig just needs increased force or damage. Qatar's kind of slow. Wouldn't mind getting some minimum charge buffs on Qatar Sigs for Ember. But she's at top of the heap on the needs buffs tier, though. Honestly, Ember wouldn't even need buffs if she was higher defense, but she's base 3 defense, so she needs better Sigs to compensate. Azoth. Azoth is overtuned because his weapons are good. If his stats were better, he'd be amazing. As of right now, I'll put Azoth right here. Don't get me started on Azoth's Axe Sigs. Like, Azoth's Axe is the perfect kit to deal with catching landings. And speaking of Power Shift, Axe Downsig with Bow Downsig, and we're Gucci. Koji is solid. He's held back by having too much dex. If he could go down to 6 dex and anything else distributed, he'd be amazing. Because 6 dex is all you need for Bow ground pound. D-Light ground pound to be true for Bow is 6 dex. He's good old reliable Koji. You can't go wrong with him. And Bow Downsig on Koji is still amazing. Olgrim is just solid. Finally, Olgrim has been dethroned in the age-old battle between Scarlet and Olgrim. Because his Sigs got nerfed. They don't hit as hard anymore. But he's still got good stats and his weapons are easy. So I'll just put you right here. Debatably better than Roland's, but worse than Bogar. Diana. Similar to Bryn. She needs a power shift between her bow and blasters. and some aspects of the bow and blasters too. Diana, perfect stats for bow, no question. But her blasters need some fine tuning because side sig on blasters is too committal, and I'd say it needs more force. That's literally all it needs. More damage or force. Same with the down sig. The BMG's in the right direction. We're getting the down sig buffed more and more for blasters for Diana, but it's not nearly as good as the bow down sig. And also, Diana bow side sig, kind of lackluster. You kind of notice it now because it doesn't catch as frequently since she had the coverage nerf for the rear of the side sig back in the day. So yeah, those are the things I pay attention to for buffs. But otherwise, neutral sig on bow, pretty overtuned. It's so easy to string that. And neutral sig on blasters for Diana, we gotta remove that issue where like when you're GC or like slide it, she fast falls way too far in her recovery animation, and I do not like that. Otherwise, stellar character. Jala. Jala needs buffs, but only barely. I do not know why we removed downlight Ensig as a true combo off of Jala, because that's really all that she had going for her to make her a solid and dependable character. We really missed the reign of Pugsy, do we? Yeah, other than that, I would say she's well balanced because her sword down sig is overtuned and her axe neutral sig is overtuned, but both of her side sigs are slow. So if the luxury of having downlight neutral sig on sword being true is too much of a luxury and would be too much to handle, why not just buff like the speed animation of side sigs on both weapons for Jala? Then she'd be solid. Core. Core is just solid because he's got good sigs and the weapon combination complements the offstage gameplay and the grappling style. But his neutral sig on gauntlets has the same issue as Diana, where you're gonna fall when you do that. But otherwise, really good character. He just loses out on some matchup spreads, that's all. Especially Qatar's. Wushang. Call me crazy, but Wushang is just the best of solid now. He's not crazy anymore because he got nerfed way too much. There's nothing overtuned about Wushang anymore. Other than that, he's just really well rounded. Like, think of Koji. Like, literally, if Koji's stats were like Wushang stats, they'd literally be interchangeable with each other at that point. Val. Val is just solid, but she just has interesting matchup spreads that you have to really learn to make her work. So I would put her here. Actually, no. Her stats are really flexible. So yeah. Interchangeable with Asuri. Ragnar. Solid. A little bit too well rounded. He'd benefit a lot more from having extra speed or extra strength. Axe neutral sig and Qatar neutral sig are some really insane callouts. And Axe side sig can seal early stocks really easily. So right here. Don't get me wrong. It's kind of crazy because I'd actually argue that Qatar neutral sig on Ragnar is better than Asuri's dunk. But Asuri has Qatar down sig for the catch in, and Rainier does not have the tools for a good catch in. So that's preference right there. Cross. Cross is solid. His SIGs aren't amazing. That's literally all that's holding him back. But weapon combination is perfect. Stats are perfect, especially high strength blasters is amazing. And gauntlets can kill early with recovery and ground pound, and strength bolsters that. Mirage. Mirage is just solid because Scythe got pretty nerfed, so she's not as excellent as she was. But still solid. Yeah, I'd say right here. Her SIGs are still amazing though and kill early. Yeah, it's safe to say that all the characters in Solid so far don't need any changes in terms of SIGs. Call me crazy, but Nyx is the first legend in here with good defense that actually needs buffs. And I'm only saying this because Scythe got nerfed, and we're still stuck with the annoying slow blaster side sig of Nyx. All it takes is an animation buff to make it quick, just like rolling side sig on Lance, and then she'd be perfect. That's her biggest glaring thing right now. Otherwise, her Scythe is amazing. And I absolutely would not mind if Scythe downsig on Nyx got one shorter frame of minimum charge time on Scythe downsig. Okay, Mordex. Mordex. He's only solid because Scythe got nerfed. All I'm gonna say. He would be overtuned, but Scythe got nerfed. So we pretty much just fixed Mordex's issue right there. No need to say anything anymore. Yumiko. Yumiko's an enigma. She's got bad stats for trades, but she's got the trap sigs that can let you cheese out wins easily, especially with Hammer. And Hammer neutral sig gets some easy gims, and downlight end sig is true on Hammer for Yumiko. I say she's like an alternative pick in between the Koji and the Yumiko branching paths when you want to go with that route. Artemis. Artemis is overtuned, not gonna lie. Artemis might be the best Scythe because she has the cheese. Scythe neutral sig on Artemis, I would actually argue, is better than Mordex neutral sig because it's way more reliable off of side light as a string. Down sig on Artemis's Scythe is cheesy. Same with side sig. And Lance side sig, you don't even need to explain Artemis Lance side sig. And Artemis has an amazing unique sig and Lance down sig where it spikes. Not many Lance sigs spike besides like Vector side sig, I believe, but you have to do it off stage with Vector, so that's cool. Yeah, Artemis, I would say probably the best Scythe legend this patch. And having Lance to make up for the matchup deficiencies is amazing. Yeah, I'd put Artemis right here. If Artemis had one less dex and it went into strength or defense, she would be amazing, but not meta. Just amazing. Caspian. Caspian is just barely overtuned because his SIGs hit like a truck. He's been buffed way too much. But then again, it's kind of fair though because his weapons have matchup deficiencies, right? Like think about this: if Core got the if Core got the same buffs that Caspian did, they'd be on equal footing and overtuned. Sidra. Sidra is... Yeah, Sidra's overtuned, not gonna lie. You cannot go wrong with Sidra's stats. And you cannot go wrong with Sidra's sword. When you need to cheese, pull out the tentacle, pull out the anchor, man. I mean, you actually have to learn Cannon with Sidra, but Cannon Neutral Sig's such a good zoning tool that you can't deny that Sidra's a good pick. Overtuned, yes, but the side Sigs could use a power shift, so there's that. Zol. Zol's just solid. He hits like a truck, what more can you say? And also, Cannon down Sig is annoying, and needs to be looked at. But then again, his side Sigs could use some power shifts there too. Not much else to say about Zol. He's pretty good, but I wouldn't mind his side Sigs getting buffed so that they're either so that the risk and reward is tuned, or they just have better reward. Either way. Kaya. Kaya's kind of like Bryn, where her bow is overtuned, but her spear needs to be caught up to speed. Like, the thing about Kaya is that her bow is really good for catching all of the options, but her spear, you cannot say the same about her spear. Her side sig is slow, and it doesn't kill early enough, but it does offer an interesting ceiling gimp potential. But, yeah. Honestly, all I say about Kaya is shift some power from the bow into the spear, and then we're good. Isaiah. Isaiah... Yeah, Isaiah's just solid. He's basically like the Sir Roland of cannon and blasters instead of sword and lance. I don't know, he doesn't really need any buffs. He's pretty well balanced. The option select with his blasters is pretty cool with the blaster neutral sig. Jiro. Jiro is barely solid. He's basically the Lord Vrax of Scythe. Not much else to say there. Only Jiro's not that unique because Loki and Moonin can fulfill the role of having a high deck Scythe when you need it to. His Sigs got buffed recently for Jiro. I mean, over the years, not exactly recently, so I think he's fine. Lin Fei is solid because her Sigs are pretty spammable despite them not hitting too hard. As seen by Guichibu. So, yeah. All Lin Fei has going against her is low exchange stats, but then again, Jiro and Vrax have to deal with it, so she's got her own niche to fill there. Zariel. Zariel is solid. He's not overtuned, simply because... Actually, his gauntlets are kind of overtuned. But his bow... Actually, his bow is pretty good, too. What the heck? Honestly, his bow down sig is the bad sig, but the rest of the sigs are all good. Man, being able to spike people with almost any sig in your arsenal with Zariel is amazing. Rayman, yeah! Okay. I would say that Rayman is also overtuned because those down sigs are really good. And his skateboarding side sig is amazing on Axe. But his other sigs, not so insane. So yeah, he'll be right here. Actually, no, he'll be right here because Axe is pretty good and Gauntlets is still solid. Actually, he has amazing flexibility and stats too. What the heck? Yeah, I'll just put him right here. Dusk. It's good to be a Dusk player. And I'm only saying that he's not overtuned is because of his low defense inherently on his stats. So yeah, I'll put him right here. Right in between Wu Shang and Koji. Fate. Yeah, Fate's in the same boat as Mirage, where Scythe being hit kind of hurts, but she still got the other weapon to carry the slack. And with good stats for Scythe, an Orb can't go wrong. Probably better than Mirage. There we go. Thor. Thor is surprisingly very underrated. You don't see Thors often, but Thor's got everything going for him with his stats. And his hammer side sig is amazing. But at the same time, he's got an amazing hammer, but he's got the same issue as Kaya, where his orb is kind of slacking and needs buffs for the orb. So it's weird. He's got an amazing hammer, but his orb needs buffs. So yeah, that's my insight on Thor. His orb's just sluggish, that's what I gotta say. Petra. Petra is now in the same league as Mordex because of Scythe getting hit. So there we go. Petra's still a really dependable character. Gauntlet neutral sig on Petra. Don't forget that. Vector. Vector the Forgotten Legend. He's just solid because his lance, it's like Kaya. His bow is amazing, but his lance takes some getting used to. But he's got amazing stats, so there's that. Put you right here. Onyx. Onyx, same deal as Petra, but except the SIGs got heavily nerfed a while back, so Onyx is fair. But she's solid because her stats heavily work well with her weapons. You can just keep Saren on back to stage. High defense plus maneuverable Sayers, sign me up. Jae Yun. Jae Yun is just overtuned just by the fact that his greatsword kit is just so amazing. So yeah. And his sword kit is no slouch if you don't count the sword down sig. So I'll put you right here. Mako. just solid. I mean, having Katars and Greatsword together might be an issue if you can't land the Sigs because they're both heavily string and read based weapons and no confirms. But then again, the Sig kit is pretty good. Magyar. Magyar is just solid because the Sigs, while aren't amazing, the weapon combination is really good. And the stats are pretty solid, surprisingly. So yeah, Magyar is probably gonna be, yeah, right here. Reno. His stats are all that's holding him back. If he had less dex and more of anything else, he'd be overtuned. Because Sidelight Ensig on Orb is amazing. Like that's like Diana levels of dunking right there. And the Blaster kit is pretty solid. So yeah, Reno's rising in the ranks steadily. Put you right here. Moonin. Moonin needs buffs. I'm sorry. You can you can get all the benefits of Jiro by playing Dex Stance Moonin, where you're 7 Dex, 7 Speed, 4 4, just like Jiro. But you're not hitting nearly as hard as Jiro with your Sigs. That's the issue. So yeah, Moonin could definitely use some force buffs for her Sigs. But otherwise, she's just a mediocre bow and a mediocre scythe compared to the other kits. So unless you want the luxury of having both flexible weapons in your kit to defend off bad matchups, you're not really gaining anything much from Moonin because you'll always struggle killing. Arcadia. Arcadia is kind of the same vein as Yumiko, just solid. Right here. But you have cheesier SIGs with Arcadia because the neutral SIGs on both weapons hit grounded. And you have more flexibility with Arcadia's Spear Down SIG because you can ground pound or recovery or Sayer or Dare and Nair, all of that jazz. Lots of flexibility. Ezio. Ezio is just solid. Same vein as Reno. Pretty similar orbs. Just gotta pick what you need. Also, Sword Down SIG on Ezio Sword is heavily underrated. Like, you got the same business with Hattori where you can do down light and Sig unjumpable, but you also have all of the tech off of down Sig into Sayer and all of that with Ezio. Red Raptor. Red Raptor's overtuned by virtue of his Orb side Sig and his Boots down Sig and Boots neutral Sig being able to catch options. But his Orb neutral Sig, his Orb down Sig, and his Boots side Sig are rather sluggish. So power shift's needed, but there are some overtuned aspects. Loki. Loki's just solid. He's basically Scythe Koji. Good way to put him. Okay. 7. 7 is overtuned just by having the best exchange stats in the game, the best trading stats. 7 strength, 8 defense. Even a Mugi is sweating. But you still have 5 speed with speed stance. And you have amazing weapons for reads. And you can still have options for kills. 7 is sleeper this patch. I'll put 7 here. Just, we need people to unlock 7's potential. Vivi is overtuned. The best blasters kid in the game. Best boots kid in the game. Yeah, she's meta. Boot down sig in particular is nigh unpunishable, and it just covers so much. We don't need to see the craziness involved. And also, Mega Man is anyone who plays Mega Man is carried. And also, if you are a fan like me of grounded neutral sigs, Vivi's gonna be funny, especially boots. Imugi, by virtue of Axe being good this format, Imugi is amazing. But I would say having low speed is not as much of a liability anymore, and with these weapons, you don't even care too much about the speed. Jeez, dude, Imugi is meta still. I hate to say that. I mean, if Brawlhalla gets his act together, I'm pretty sure he can win. King Zuva. And also, Imugi Sigs are still annoying, especially Great Sword Side Sig. And also Axe Neutral Sig. Those ghostly attacks. Too good. King Zuva got buffed, so he's not as sluggish for his boots. But there's still better options out there. He's kind of like Thor. Yeah, he basically is Thor, but with the boots. But the thing is, Zuva's just as unexplored as Thor. And I've experimented with both. And I've got to say, I'll just put him in solid until I accumulate more data. So yeah, I'll just put him here. Priya. We finally get to the chakrams. Let's go. Priya's not meta anymore because chakrams got supposedly quote unquote gutted. And then now they're rebuffed again, so unexplored territory. But I would say, by virtue of what I've mentioned in the weapons tier list about chakram being insane, we'll put these here. And by virtue of ransom being pre-nerf, on release ransom, he's automatically at the top. So, hope you guys enjoyed my tier list of legends for summer 2025. If there's anything you want to let me know about in this tier list, let me know in the comments. And stay posted because Valhalla's going to open up this Wednesday, and we're definitely going to make content about that. So stay posted and have a good one. Peace.